A sewing lesson from Sew New York. Today we're going to focus on how to sew darts. This is part one of the construction of darts. Hi, welcome to Sew New York. My name is McCracken, and today we're going to take a look at darts. Darts are a seam, and darts are usually found from the waistline down to the hip, or from the waistline up to the bust line. And sometimes you'll find darts from your side seam to the bust line. Alright, I'm going to demonstrate I'm going to use this garment here, which I made, and this is the model of Vogue pattern V8815. This is made out of a wool challis. I'm going to use the back bodice part to demonstrate the darts, and then we're going to take a look at a straight skirt that I teach in my class. It's the first project you get to do. So we'll take a look at the skirt. It's a pencil skirt, and you'll see the darts on the skirt as well. This lesson is going to be divided into three parts. We're going to see how to sew, mark, and construct the dart with one method that I use in class, which is tailor tacks. Part two is going to teach you two other ways to mark your pattern. With a light thread tailor tack, it's a more simple version, as well as we'll get to see how to do a tracing with wax. And I think maybe I'll even show you how to do a chalk marking. Alright, let's take a look at this now. Alright, now here is the back view of this peplum top, Vogue pattern V8815 again. And you can see I've used chalk, because I want you to be able to see where the dart ends up here. And actually the beginning of the dart is down here at the waist. So the dart goes in this direction. That chalk line is the dart. And there's also a chalk line over here, right there. And what happens is that you sew your dart together, and it ends at the end of the dart. It's called the vanishing point. And the same thing is true for the front of the top. So on the front of the top, I have chalk lines from here to here, as well as from here to here. Okay, let's go take a look at how to sew this up. So now we're going to look at this skirt. This is a silk taffeta pencil skirt, and I'm going to go up a little bit closer and show you what the darts look like. But the darts, they're at the waist, and the purpose of the darts is to give shape to the garment. Let's take a look at the darts. Okay, I've moved the camera in closer so we can see the beauty of the silk taffeta skirt and the darts. And you're looking at the waistline and the waistline darts. There are 4 darts in the front. There are 2 on either side. There's a dart here that gives the shape to the skirt. This one is longer than the dart here. As well, there are the same 2 darts on that side of the skirt. So that's the skirt darts, and all darts basically are the same sort of shape, and they serve the same purpose. The purpose of darts are to create shape, and usually that's through the waistline, from the waist down through the hip, or from the waistline up through the bust line, so that things become fitted on our body. Okay, now we're going to go take a look at what darts look like before they're sewn on a pattern piece. Here you're looking at a bodice pattern piece that has 2 darts. You can see the dart down here. As well, there's a section of darts up here. We're going to focus on the dart at the bottom. This is going to be a simple dart lesson. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see that a little bit better. In this shot here, we're looking at that same pattern piece, and we're looking at the dart that we're going to focus on for the lesson. So this is the dart line all the way down to the mark there, and it comes back down on this side, so down here, and there's 2 marks down here. So these marks are going to be connected as well to the point here. We're going to fold along the line. This point up here is called the vanishing point, and these 2 marks come together to make the dart. The way it's basically done, basically what happens is that you take your fabric and you're basically folding it together, okay, like so, and you're going to sew from here all the way through both marks, all the way down to the vanishing point. And of course, a seam is a dart is a seam, and all seams you put the good side of the fabric together and you sew on the inside. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how to mark this first. Okay, now getting back to marking the pattern, there are many ways, or about 3 different ways of marking your pattern. Some people like to make marks in their patterns so that they see on their fabric what gets connected and how to sew the seams. You could do things like a wax paper tracing. There are some very simple sort of tailor tacks, and then there are the tailor tack loops. I'm going to teach you the tailor tack loops in this lesson. This is my favorite go-to method of marking patterns. I find it to be the one that's most reliable. When you do chalk or wax marking, some of these marks can disappear. Wax will leave a grease residue on your fabric, not all fabric, but some. So you want to be careful as to what method you use. If you are working with chalk, the best time to use a chalk marking is when you know you're going to sit there and then sew it up. If you're doing chalk marking, you're not going to come back to it for a few days. Chances are the marks are going to be gone. So therefore, thread markings, I think, are the most reliable because they are the most semi-permanent and are still removable when you're done with your garment. So I'm going to show you these marks here, these little circles along the pattern, along the dart line. Circle there, there's a circle here, and there's one here. We're going to put tailor tacks into each one of these marks. What you're going to use a double thread. There's no knot at the end of the needle. We're not sewing anything where you want a knot in the end, so you're just going to have a double thread on a needle. Okay? Now, you're going to go into any one of the marks. I'll start with the vanishing point mark first. Let me slide that down a little bit. You're going to go into the mark and you're going to go all the way through. You're going through both layers of your fabric, and I'll turn this over to show you. So I just went through both layers, and you can see a little tiny stitch on the other side. I'm purposely using a bright fabric and then a dark thread so you can see it. It's a good idea to use a contrasting thread when you're marking your pattern. Okay, I'm going to go back over to the side again, and now I'm going to pull the thread until it's about 3 inches. I'm going to go back into the same mark again, going all the way through, coming back out, and now I'm going to leave a loop. And you want the loop to be, you don't want a huge loop like that, and you don't want it to be too tiny, but if it's about the size of your finger, that's a perfect loop. You won't have too much, and there won't be too little. It'll work perfectly. I'm going to cut this now right here, and now I have one tailor's tack. And if you'll notice, the tailor tack, the tail, these 2 threads that run to here, are about 3 times the length of the loop. You don't want this to be too short. What happens is that you pull your fabric apart and you separate them, and as you pull, if the tail is too short, you'll lose your mark. Okay, now we have 2 more places down here, this little round mark here as well as this mark here. I'm going to do the same thing for both of those. I'm going to go into the mark and come all the way through both layers of fabric so that you're leaving a little stitch underneath. And then you're going to go back in, leave a loop about the size of your finger. And some people don't like these kind of marks because they're too time consuming. You know, it's all time consuming. By the time you get the wax tracing paper out and you get it set up and you draw your line, it's the same amount of time to take care to do your marks. So do I really think that it's that much trouble? No, I think it's just that it's a more accurate mark. It works really well. So this is the first video on the darts. I'm going to do a second video and it's going to show the other type of thread markings that you can do. Excuse me. I'm going to do the tracing with the wax paper, and then I'm also going to show you how to do a simplified tailor tack instead of this type. Okay, I'm getting a new thread and needle ready for the next one here. So I'm going to go into that little circle, that mark, going through both layers of fabric, leaving about 3 inches for a tail on one end. And there it is there. You see the little mark? You're going to go back into that same mark again and come back out. And then you're going to make a loop the size of your finger. And then you're going to cut off the thread. Alright, so now we have three marks here. The 2 that are down here, and this is the waistline of the bodice. So these are darts at the waist. Okay, that's the vanishing point again. Now, a lot of patterns today, they kind of take shortcuts, I think. There really should be 2 more marks. It's going to make it better for you when it comes time to matching up your tailor tacks. So I'm going to put 2 more marks. I'm just going to draw them in, and you can do this at any point on your pattern. I do recommend, however, that you use a marker or a pen that is not going to create a leak and then stain your fabric. So I've drawn in those 2 marks with a Sharpie, which are permanent markers and they don't run. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do 2 more tailor tacks. Make the loop about the size of my finger. At the tail. And then we have to do 1 more. Again, making sure that you go all the way through all the layers of fabric, your 2 layers of fabric, and then go back in, come out, make your loop, and leave a tail. Okay, so now we have we have 5 marks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the vanishing point. Okay, so I'm going to take a minute here. I'm going to take all the pins out of the pattern piece, and then I'm going to show you how to remove the pattern without tearing it.